Walk us through all of these developments in Russia. How big of a deal is this when it comes to both the bridge and the grain deal?
Well, it's interesting because this grain deal has largely been dead anyway for some weeks. There's been very little movement of Ukrainian grain out through past Turkey into the rest of the world anyway. So it's been really troubled for some time. But now we have Russia officially saying they're refusing to extend this deal further past the deadline of today, although they say under some circumstance in the future they might come back to it. It comes, of course, as we've seen another explosion today on that key bridge which links Crimea, which is occupied by Russia, with Russia itself. And that's a really important bridge for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Crimea really is a red line for him. And whether he needed a pretext to nix this deal is a question, really. But he's saying that Ukraine, of course, carried out some sort of attack on the bridge today, a drone attack. So an effort there by Russia to at least link those events. What we do know, of course, is that the grain deal, as I said, has been on a slow ball for some weeks already. The question is, at what point in the future would Russia be willing to come back to it?
Roz, could you also put into context the news we learned over the weekend about Russia temporarily, at least they say, seizing the Russian subsidiaries of Danone and Carlsberg? Is this something Russia has done before, and what does it mean for these corporations?
Well, that's right. They have done it twice before with two other companies, but it's the first move in a while. And of course, Russia says this is a temporary move, but it's hard to see, having seized these assets, they'd be willing to give them back. And it really reflects the difficulties that many of these Western companies find themselves in. Some have managed to pull out of Russia entirely. Some have found it very difficult to do so, to divest their assets or to reduce their footprint there. And really sort of now we're seeing the difficulties that are coming as a result of that. But equally at the same time, investors in these companies have probably largely written down those assets since the war began, since Russia invaded Ukraine in February last year, and have sort of priced in some risk there as a result. So you're not going to see significant moves in the shares, for example, today. But again, it just shows that balancing act for those companies. Do they stay entirely in Russia? Can they reduce their footprint there? If so, how? How can they divest their assets in a way that is acceptable to their shareholders? So really just highlighting again the complexity and probably a warning to some other Western companies still operating there, Nestle, Coca-Cola and so on, that they might be next to be targeted.